If we lose our currency, that's the equivalent of losing a world war.
Oh, so Trump just compared to losing the US dollar to like losing World War III. Is he exaggerating again just for media attention? Or does he have a point with this? See, it's not just Trump, but a lot of folks in Washington knows this is big trouble. See, this is Senator Marco Rubio from Florida, and he said the quiet part out loud. He says, if we lose the United States dollar as the international reserve currency status, then we won't have the ability to sanction them. What does it mean by that? Okay, I've never actually seen anyone explain the secret to American dominance or hegemony around the world, so I'm going to explain it. And I've never seen anyone actually draw up this graphic, so I've had to physically draw it up myself. Now, retweet and forward this to friends because this is actually the secret that everyone's been waiting for. It's what I call the US golden triangle. It's basically the US dollar feeding into US Treasury bonds and then feeding into US military, which then enhances US dollars. Now, most people are worried about the collapse of the US dollar, which is not really happening anytime soon because China only makes up something like 2% of the world central bank's foreign reserves. US dollar is something like 58, 59%, so it's not going away anytime soon. But that's missing the point. The point is basically that could threaten US Treasury bonds. What happens when every country in the world trades with US dollars? Then countries like China, Saudi Arabia, Japan, Germany, they have a lot of extra US dollars on their accounts because they export so much. What do they do with that extra US dollars? Like, we're talking literally trillions of dollars. They have to invest it or keep it in a savings account somewhere, like in the Federal Reserve, which is where they earn some yields like 4 or 5% sometimes by keeping it in US Treasury bonds. And what's US Treasury bonds? It's essentially a loan. When you buy someone's bonds, it's essentially a loan to the US government. So the US government is borrowing that money, and then where does it spend it? Well, it spends on lots of things like education, like roads and transport, in the US. But the number two spending item, which is something like $700 billion a year, is on the US military. And when the US military is strong, what does that do? That makes everybody want to believe in the US dollar. So it goes around in a circle like this. So what everyone has missed in the media, no one has told you so far except me, is that the worry is not in the short term with the US dollar, but with US Treasury bonds, which China is still, including Hong Kong, the number one holder in the world. And they've cut it now down to a 13-year low. So that means a lot less money from foreigners in US Treasury bonds, then that weakens the US military. And that in turn weakens